Alright, guys. After doing the Friday the 13th, well, I got 3 left, but going through like the first 8, that is what I grew up on and was like the second series and movie that got me into horror. It's time. I was gonna wait till October and do the whole franchise together, but I said, fuck it, I can't wait. So, John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. This is gonna be fucking hard, man. Like, what could you say about Halloween anymore? Like, I mean, I said the same thing with The Thing and stuff, but there's, like I said in my videos for The Thing, if you've seen that, or for Suspiria, I said both of those films are perfect. And you won't hear me say the word perfect for a film more than a handful of times. Ever. This is number 3. This film is perfect. Like, in every single way. Like, so strap in. This is gonna... it's gonna be a little bit here. But this is the film that got me into horror. I was 5-6 years old. I'll never forget. I was on Halloween, which was just another great way to start my entry into horror. Halloween night, and I was watching USA, and I saw on I forget if it was like the TV Guide or something like that, but I saw there was a movie called Halloween, and I said, hey, that's today. And I had no idea what the hell I was getting myself into, and just ended up watching it, and just something about it, man, just something drew me in, just something resonated with me, like, so deeply. Just the whole character of Michael, and just and Laurie, and fucking Dr. Loomis, and everything about the movie, just like as a young kid, had such an effect on me, and just, like I said, just resonated with me so immensely that it was probably it's definitely the most influential film of my life. Like, it led to almost 30 years of being a horror movie fanatic. Like, this is the film that started it all for me. And right after I saw this movie, a little bit after that, next time, I think the next Friday the 13th day or something like that, when they showed all the series of that, is when I saw those for the first time. And then that was it. It was just off to the races, and just everything was horror from then on. Like, absolutely everything. And it was during the late 80s and stuff, like, compared to today, like, parents didn't really give a shit as much about, like, what their kids were watching. Like, my parents weren't strict with that at all. So, like, they threw on, I think my dad was the one who showed me Nightmare on Elm Street when I was, like, 9, something like that. So, like, they didn't give a fuck. Like, today, everyone's so fucking sensitive and protective, overprotective and everything. You don't see as much of it today, but like back then, most parents, they didn't give a shit. Like, if anything, the TV was like a babysitter. It's like, all right, we got shit to do. Here, just watch this. Like, watch the TV, watch whatever the fuck you want. It don't matter. Just just sit here in front of the TV for a few hours. Like, but man, I can't say enough how influential this film was in my life. Like, it was just one of, like, my oldest memories, like, of seeing this movie, is one of my oldest memories, which I only maybe have a few others, like, before that. Like, I remember when my sister was born. She's 3 years younger than me, so I was 3 years old. I remember seeing her in the hospital, like, when you look through the glass and stuff, and when the babies are in there. I remember that. That was, like, my earliest memory, maybe. And then there's like a few more, and then there's seeing Halloween for the first time. So, like, that's how much this movie fucking means to me, man. Like, and The Thing is my favorite film of all time. This is, like, right next to it, like, right under it. Like, and for Carpenter to have 2 movies that I consider perfect in every way, and that are my top 2 horror movies of all time, is unreal. Like, just to have that one director with 2 perfect movies. I mean, he has so many amazing movies, like, besides that. But just the fact of one director with 2 movies that are perfect to me, and that are my top 2 movies of all time, like, is unreal. Like, Carpenter is just a fucking legend, man. Let's talk about Michael Myers. Just something about this character. Like, especially when I first saw this, and then as I kept rewatching it over and over and over again through the years as I grew up, he's just, like, I think the most perfect killer in a movie. Like, I can't really think of another one. Like, out of, especially like when you see it all the time, with people doing videos of top slashers and stuff like that, and with Jason, comparing Jason with Freddy and Chucky and Ghostface. You guys know how I feel about Scream if you watch enough. But like all of that, Leatherface, and then Michael. It's Michael. Like, he's number one. Like, he is the best killer in a horror movie. Like, without a doubt. Like, and the mask. His mask in this movie. And now when I'm talking about this movie, I'm talking about just this movie. Like, I'm ignoring everything that comes after this from 2 onwards and just keeping it contained to John Carpenter's Halloween. Because as much as I do like other entries in the franchise, I think that this franchise is, like, out of the big horror franchises of the 80s and everything, or, you know, mid-70s, late 70s, this is the worst franchise. Like, it has the most bad entries in it. It's all over the place. There's like 4 or 5 timelines now that we're into, right? There's like 3 or 4 fucking zombies remakes. The new ones from the last few years that take away fucking everything in between it. H2O that ignored all the other ones. Like, and then we have Season of the Witch, which is its own thing, which I adore that movie. But like, it's all over the place. I think the Friday the 13th series is a lot more consistent, and it's just a lot more fun. I think Nightmare on Elm Street is a lot more imaginative and fun too, just like with Freddy with his wisecracks and everything as it went on, which it got a little overboard. But and then Chucky, I think, has the most character out of any, like, of the major slasher franchises. Like, just the whole character of Charles Lee Ray and Chucky is, I think, just has the most character. And it makes sense, though, because that's what makes Michael so terrifying, is that he has no character. He has no emotion. He has nothing. He's empty inside. He's just pure evil. There's no emotion. There's no excitement. There's nothing. It's just blank. And that's why the mask in this movie is the greatest mask in a horror movie. Like, ever. Like, yeah, right, they had the decision between a clown mask and this mask. And I remember them thinking that the clown mask was scary, and then they came out with the other mask, and they were all like, that's it. Like, that's it. That's the mask. Like, and thank fucking Christ, man, we got that mask instead of the clown mask. I mean, who knows? I mean, this is all these years later, and knowing this movie so much, and knowing Michael Myers becoming a cultural icon, and the mask is fucking infamous. But so, like, you can't really say if the clown mask would have been better or not if it was the clown mask, because all we would have known was the clown mask. So, like, it's hard to go back and, like, say, like, which would be better and stuff, but fuck that. I mean, this mask is better, like, in every fucking way. And just how it's perfect. It's perfect for the character of Michael Myers. That it's just like himself. It's blank. It's emotionless. It's just with the blackest eyes, and just, everything about this movie is perfect. And just the way that he's very different too from Jason and Freddy and Leatherface and shit. That he loves stalking. Like, he's not like Jason, who fucking, like, creeps around a little bit and then he just aggressively fucking kills you. Like, he loves looking and lurking and stalking. And it's so creepy in this movie. The way that just how he stalks Laurie, like as soon as she gets to the Myers house to drop the keys in, and how he's just in there breathing. And then as she walks away, how he comes out and he stands and he's staring at her. And then just the way he's all over this movie it's so subtle. It's so fucking brilliant, man, that you got to pay attention, and like that he's always around. Like there's so many shots with the car driving around that it draws no attention to it, that you just got to see it and see the fucking logo on the side of the car or the door, and see like, oh shit, that's him driving by. Like when Loomis is waiting to talk to Brackett outside the department store that Michael robbed. He just right behind Loomis just turns down the street. Like he was right next to him. Like Loomis had no idea how close he was to Michael right there. And just the way they utilized that. And then just him going and stalking Tommy at the school and everything. And then stalking Annie and watching her undress. And Bob and Linda and watching them fuck. And then like, he just loves to stalk. He loves, and it makes you wonder why. Is it because he's been locked away for so long, by himself, hasn't talked in 15 years? Is it just something for him that he likes doing? Or is it that he's been isolated by himself for so long that he's just trying to take in, like, interaction between other people, or just like trying to like get like a glance of what he missed, or like what the world is like, or like you can go down so many theories trying to dissect this character, and that's what makes him fucking amazing. That's what makes the character of Michael Myers so intriguing and terrifying, that there's just so many questions and you don't need the answers. Like, at all. And I said the same thing in The Thing. With the, what is the thing? Where did it come from? Did it, how many different planets did it take over other beings from? And like, none of that matters. Like, at all. Like, everything we get in the movie is all you need. You don't need exposition. You don't need an explanation. Like, that, it just adds to the mystery. And it's the same thing here, which is one reason why I don't like later entries in this franchise, because then they try just explaining the shit out of why Michael's like that, and the whole Curse of the Thorn and everything. Like, I don't know, man. Like, one thing I do not like the brother and sister thing between Laurie and Michael. Like, I know so many people who don't like that. Like, that's why I said I'm keeping it contained to just John Carpenter's Halloween. Because it's just something I never cared for. That whole reveal into that they're related, that they're siblings. Just doesn't work for me. Like, just the fact that Michael is stalking these three girls, mostly Laurie, and having no connection to her. They're not related in this movie. And then it just makes you question his motives. Why Laurie? Why is he so enamored by Laurie? Why is he so obsessed with Laurie? What catches his eye about her? Is it because she came to his house to drop the keys off and like disturbing his home? And that's what like really like caught his eye about her? Then he just starts stalking her after that? And I mean, he hardcore stalks. He finds out who that she's babysitting Tommy, who her friends are, Annie and Linda, and where Annie is babysitting Lindsay across the street from the Doyle house, and just like he follows her all day long. Why though? Like, just that's another just question that you can just ponder on like endlessly, and the whole brother-sister thing just takes away from that completely. That just gives the reason. It's like, oh, well, that's her sister. That's his sister. That's why he's going after her. No. Like, it don't work that way for me. Like, it works a million times better if that was never revealed. If this was the only movie in the series, it was just Halloween, that's it. Never made another one after that. That's all you need. There's no need for that brother and sister shit. And then the whole thing with Thorn and the Curse of the Thorn and all that bullshit is, which is weird because I actually very, very highly enjoy Halloween Part 6. Like, I'm one of the few that really likes Halloween 6. I always have. And that's the one where they really dive into the Thorn shit and all that stuff. But never cared for any of that. It just takes away so much mystery that is so integral to Michael Myers' character. Just like his whole thing is that he's this blank, emotionless, just pure evil incarnate. And that anything trying to explain any of that just takes it down for me. It takes away that mystery, like piece by piece, as the rest of the franchise went on. But I don't want to I don't want to go on too much on the franchise and shit, so we'll just stick with this. Because I'll be covering the whole franchise next month. And just like even in the, like how so much of this movie, like the first half of this movie basically is in the daytime. And just the shots of Michael stalking Laurie and everything, like outside the classroom and right from out, like in front of the bush before he goes back and disappears when Annie goes looking for him, and it's so creepy. It's so effective. Of just like, it's not just nighttime through the whole thing and he's going around killing all them. Like, just seeing him stalking her and taking her in and processing like whatever he's thinking, which is, again, you don't know. Like, it's just so fucking good. But like it happening in the daytime and just seeing him all over the place. Awesome. It's just masterful. Like, it's amazing. So then, next thing I got to talk about is Donald Pleasance. Sam Loomis is my favorite character in a horror movie. Like, the only other character that I can think that might tie him is Norman Bates from Psycho. Like I really had to say from Psycho, but Norman Bates is the only other character in horror history for me that rivals Sam Loomis. Which is funny that Sam Loomis is from Psycho and this is Sam Loomis in Halloween. So those two movies, between those two, but I pretty fucking could say confidently that Loomis beats him a little bit for me. Every fucking line out of Loomis's mouth in this movie is amazing. Like, he is just a character and he was on set for, 3-4 days? That's it. Like, he was only on the set for this movie for like 3 or 4 days. And he has been in hundreds of movies, like in a lot of horror movies. Like, this guy has done so much stuff in his career. And he stopped by for 3-4 days to shoot this. And boom, this becomes the movie that he will always be remembered for. Like, this Halloween, Donald Pleasance, what comes to mind? Halloween, Sam Loomis. Like, are you kidding? Like, is that a joke? Like, amazing how that works out. I said the same with Betsy Palmer for Friday the 13th. Like, for like older, like people in like maybe the 60s, 70s and stuff that like knew Betsy Palmer, like, because she was an accomplished actress and everything, who knew her like early stuff and like her most famous stuff before that. Yeah, then like you can argue that. But for like people who didn't grow up with Betsy Palmer around, like, and see all her older movies and stuff, Friday the 13th has defined her career. Like, anyone who thinks of Betsy Palmer with Friday the 13th. Same thing here. And I'm sure he was shocked, like, just like Betsy Palmer was, like, how Friday the 13th got so big. And she didn't want to take it because it was trash, she said. She's like, nobody's going to see it. That's the only reason she took the role. And for Donald Pleasance to just come on set for a few days and then probably just move on to shoot another movie and do another scene in some other fucking film. And this becomes the movie that he will always be remembered for. Like, Dr. Loomis is the only one in this movie who knows, or any of the sequels and stuff, but again, just contained to this, that knows what they're dealing with, what this town is dealing with, that knows what Michael is, that knows that how evil he is, that he is just pure evil, that he is coming back home, that everything, like, he knows, he's the only person who knows what Michael truly is and how dangerous he is. And at the same time, I think it's brilliant that I think he's the most terrified of Michael. Like, out of everyone who comes across Michael, I think Loomis is the most scared of him, the most terrified of Michael, because he knows him the best. Like, he was a doctor for 15 years. And just all his lines of just with the pale, emotionless face, with the blackest eyes, and with him saying, like, I watched him for 15 years, sitting down, staring at the wall, not seeing the wall, staring past the wall, staring down to this night. Like, all of every line out of his mouth, man, in this movie. Like, you can't not pay attention. Like, he demands your fucking attention. Like, anytime he opens his mouth in this movie, like, every character that he's talking to shuts up and listens. Like, I can't say enough about Loomis and Pleasance, but the character of Sam Loomis, man, the best in fucking film for me. I don't know. It's unreal. Next thing I gotta talk about is the fucking score. Are you kidding? Like, this is the best score in a movie. Like, in a horror movie, 100%. I might have to rack my brain for, like, all time. But this is probably, like, number 3 or 2, if not maybe 1. The score in this movie is unbelievable. You play the theme song, the main theme of Halloween, for 2 seconds, just and pause it. Everyone, Halloween, instantly. Like, there's no one who doesn't know the theme song to this movie, the soundtrack to this movie. And it's not just the main theme. Every piece of music in this movie is perfect. Perfect. Like, just unreal how Carpenter not only wrote and directed this, but wrote and composed the most brilliant horror soundtrack, like, score of all time. Like, is unbelievable. Like, this fucking guy, man. Like, Carpenter, Jesus, man. Like, every piece of music in this movie is utilized so well, is so effective, is played at just the perfect right time, the right moments, the right scenes. Like, oh God, man. Like, the only theme of a horror movie that I can think might rival it is maybe Tubular Bells, The Exorcist main theme. Everyone knows that as well. But that's just that one piece of music in that movie. I'm talking about every fucking piece of the score in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. So I can't even go Exorcist route or anything like that. This is the best score in a horror movie. Like, 100%. Like, I won't hear anything else about it. Like, like, that's been closed for discussion. Like I said with The Thing of being my favorite horror movie, that was closed for fucking like 20 years or so. Like, this has been closed for discussion since I first saw this movie as a kid. Like, and that's another thing, just rewatching this, trying to, like I say all the time, like, I always try to rewatch movies like it's the first time. Like, trying to just distance myself from all past experiences watching it, but this is so fucking hard, man. I've seen this movie. I don't even want to say or guess. Like, it would sound borderline, like, unhealthy. Like, like, absolutely. Same with The Thing. But, like, just, oh God, man, it's unbelievable. All right, so, like, let's talk about the actual movie. 24 minutes and fucking, like I said, man, this is John Carpenter's Halloween. I said the same thing with The Thing. That's why that video is like an hour and 10 minutes, the longest video I have on this channel. Fucking, this ain't gonna go that long, but fucking, it's gonna go a little bit. And just so we get the opening credits is just amazing with the jack-o'-lantern and everything. Like, just from the beginning of this movie, it just never stops. It never starts, it stops being just amazing and just perfect in every single way. Every shot in this movie, every frame, the sound design, the score, the acting, Michael Myers, fucking everything, the cinematography, the lighting, the directing, the editing, perfect, everything. Everything that goes in the process of filmmaking is perfect in this movie. Like, it's unreal. Like how this director has, like I said, 2 films that are absolutely perfect to me. It's just a feat that will never be beaten. It's like the Beatles are my favorite band of all time. There will never be another Beatles. There will never be a band better than the Beatles. It's like the same thing, but it's like having 2 Beatles. It's like having 2 bands like that are just like pretty much tied as the greatest ever, and they'll both never be beaten. Like, it's just the feat of having, and that accomplishment of having The Thing and Halloween, let alone all of his other movies, Escape from New York, fucking Big Trouble in Little China, fucking They Live, in the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness, fucking, like, it goes on, man. Like, really? Like, this guy, man, like, I've always tried to sit down and think of, like, my all-time favorite horror director. I never can come to a conclusion, but Carpenter might be it. Like, he might, like, just for having The Thing and Halloween alone, plus everything else he's done. Like, the only other ones that can really rival it for me is like Argento, Craven, and like fucking, and David Lynch, which isn't even really a horror director, but like I say all the time on here, he has so many horror stuff in all of his work. But those directors right there, like, I can't think of any other ones that like would top those. Like, I don't know, Carpenter might be the number one. And we have 1963. Let's get in the movie again. Like I said before, I keep going on another tangent. And just the POV shot, and how this movie just totally popularized the POV shot in slasher films to come. Like, every slasher film, not every, but like so many of them from Friday the 13th onward, just POV shot. And it's all because of Halloween. Like, yeah, we had it in Peeping Tom in 1960, but I mean, like, utilized in this way, like from a killer's point of view, like unreal, man. Like, how many things that this movie set and for the future of horror and changed horror forever is just absolutely amazing. It's absolutely unreal. The whole final girl trope. Yeah, there were ones before this and stuff, but this movie really popularized that trope and drove it into the 80s slasher craze. The masked killer, like, sure, again, we've had that before, but this is the movie that fucking made all the slasher movies to come with killers with masks and stuff. Like, it's fucking this movie. It's Michael Myers. Like, that's the reason. Like, so many tropes that we've seen in so many horror movies ever since owe it to this movie. And that's just amazing. That's such an accomplishment. And we have Judith and her boyfriend going upstairs and having the shortest sex ever. Like, they're up there for like 2 fucking seconds, man. And then just the first time you see this movie, just the reveal that it's a child killing his sister. Like, you don't know, like, from the POV shots and stuff, who this is the first time you see this. Unless, like, I mean, especially, like, back when this came out, like, I'm sure the people who saw it in theaters and everything, Like now, everyone knows Michael Myers and stuff like that. But like the first time you see this movie, it's shocking that it's this young 6-year-old boy who just brutally stabbed his sister to death. And that whole reveal of him just standing in in the street and the father takes the mask off and like Michael and just him holding the knife and they have no reaction at all. Like they don't fucking react at all, man. Like they just stand there and as it pans away, I get it. It's a cool shot and everything. Like it's supposed to be that way, but I always laugh at that. I like in every movie. I'm sure you guys know by now. Anytime there's an underreaction or something like that, I always got to point it out. But every time I see this, it's the same thing. It's like they don't seem too concerned about like anything. Like their son is holding a bloody knife. And just all you gotta say is Michael and just stare at him in the middle of the street for like a little bit to give the camera time to pan back. Like no reaction. And then just Loomis and Marion's conversation, like going to Smith's Grove. Like don't underestimate it. And like her saying like, wouldn't it be better to call it a he? And he's like, if you say so. And just like every word out of his mouth, man. And just the way he always refers to Michael as it or the evil or like all of that. Like he does call him he a few times in this, but like just like I said, he's the only one who knows what Michael truly is and what he's truly capable of. And he can't refer to him as a person because he's not in his eyes. He's just evil incarnate. Like there's nothing left. There's no Michael Myers, the 6-year-old boy, left inside of Michael. He's just empty, emotionless, soulless, heartless, blank. Just like the mask. And why it's so fucking perfect. And man, to get a fucking William Shatner mask and paint it white, and that becomes like the most iconic mask in horror history. Like, that's fucking amazing, man. And the mask in this movie, I mean, 100%, the greatest mask in the series. Like, I don't know what the hell the deal is with the masks changing so often in these movies. Like, you buy the mask in the first movie, right? You buy it somewhere. They probably bought multiple ones, like, for sure. Just look at the tag and see who makes the mask. And from then on, just contact that company. Or just like right then and there when you saw the movie take off, call them up. Listen, we need 1,000 of those masks. And then there you go. You'd be set for the next fucking 40 years. Like, for doing all the sequels and everything. And with the same fucking mask. It seems like common sense to me. Like, you see the movie blow up after it hit theaters and stuff. It becomes one of the most highest grossing independent films of all time. And you know it's because of Michael Myers and like, I mean, the whole movie, but like Michael Myers and the mask and everything was what really terrified people. You don't think to call that company up and be like, yeah, this might be a like big possibility of sequels or something down the line. Let me get like 1,000 of those William Shatner masks. What's that? It's a drop in a bucket for what the fucking movie made. Like, I don't know. That's what I would have done, like, immediately. Just to have that same mask, 1,000 of them. You can just put them on an assembly line, spray them fucking white, make it look just like the one in this movie, and we wouldn't have all the ridiculous looking ones, like, down the line. Like, again, I'm going off fucking topic with the series, but the mask in this movie is just the best. Like, none of the other ones come close. Like, nowhere close. And Nick Castle, just his performance as Michael in this is amazing. Like, the best Michael Myers, the best person to play Michael Myers, Nick Castle. The best mask of this movie. The best score of this movie. Like, it's fucking unreal, man. And then, like, what Loomis is, like, when Marion asks him, like, what are they going to put in, what are they going to do when he's in front of the judge? You know, pump full of Thorazine? And she's like, oh, he's not even going to be able to stand up. And he's like, that's the idea. Like, Just everything that he says, man. Just the delivery of all of his lines. And I love how Michael just palm smashes the fucking window with Marion in on the car. And then he gets in and drives away. Like, just the way that his hand comes down. That's such a cool shot of his hand, just like his palm just cracking against the window and breaking the window open. So, so good. And then I talked about that. Yeah, I didn't even really need to take notes for this, but just to keep fucking my brain on track. But like, I already mentioned things that I wrote later, so I'm all over the place here. Then we got Dr. Wynn and Loomis talking, and then him saying he doesn't know how to drive. He was doing very well last night, so maybe someone gave him lessons. Then we find out that even though it's a different actor, Dr. Wynn was helping Michael in part of the Curse of Thorn and stuff in the later movies. Like, I don't know how many people who are fan, like, not a huge fan of the series, but I've seen like the movies and stuff. When they get to 5 and 6, and then the character of Dr. Wynn is reintroduced, if they even know that's the same character in the first movie. Like, I don't think a lot of people do. Like, sure, of course, like hardcore Halloween fans, they will. But like just casual fans of the series who just like have seen a few entries or watched it through like once or twice, like, I don't think they would notice that that's Dr. Wynn at the beginning here. And again, series going off on. I told you at the beginning, man, this is going to be so hard to talk about this fucking movie. And let's see here. And then we have the whole thing at the school when the talk with fate and everything. It's another trope that this movie just popularized and stuff. And sure, like I always say, could have came before this, probably did. But just being in a classroom and then hearing something that relates to the story or like something that's going to help that character later on in the movie. Like, we see that so much nowadays. Like, the last 20, 30 years, like, there's so much of that in movies of just like hearing like a speech in class or something, and then that relates to what happens later, or it's knowledge that helps the character later in the movie. Like, it happens so much, but I mean, this is, in my opinion, the movie that popularized that trope too. Like, there's so much of that in this. Like, this movie was just so fucking influential on film in general, but in the horror genre, like, besides Psycho, I'd say this is the most influential film in horror. The Exorcist too, maybe. So Exorcist, Psycho, and fucking Halloween. I think those are the 3 most influential horror movies. Like, that kick-started off, certain things that we've never seen before in horror, or things that became extremely popular in the genre after those movies came out. Like, without a doubt. And I love how they even address where Michael got his change of clothes. That when Loomis sees the mechanic's truck, whatever, on the side of the road, and he finds Michael's hospital gown and explains why Michael has the outfit that he has, that he stole it from the mechanic. And we see him fucking killed in the bushes and everything, dead. Like, I love how they address that. Like, just addressing how he got a change of clothes. Seems like such a small thing that they could just, you can just picture and imagine, like, oh, he got clothes from somewhere. But just the fact that they address that, like, is just so good, man. It's so fucking good to me. And then there's no way, though, that Michael heard Annie yell at the car when he drives by. When she's like, hey, jerk, or whatever. Shit, what the fuck did she say? Something like that. But then she said, like, speed kills. And he stops the car. He's like fucking halfway down the street. And like, the windows aren't open. Like, there's no fucking way he heard her say that. Like, at all. Like, unless he was just fucking with them, like, drove by and then stopped. And then just kept driving, and it had nothing to do with what she said. But I don't know. Like, he definitely did not hear that. And I talked about that. And Sheriff Brackett absolutely smelt that pot. Are you serious? Like, it's a fucking sheriff in the 70s. And they just smoked a joint in a fucking car. You don't think he smelt that pot? Like, Annie's stupid. Like, They're saying to Laurie, he didn't smell it. Laurie said, no, he definitely smelled it. Yeah, no, Laurie, you're right. Like, he 100% smelled that. Like, he's a terrible sheriff if he didn't smell that pot. Like, 100%. Like, there's no way. And then the alarm at the store all day going off. Like, it took them that long for the cops to get to that store. Like, we see Michael numerous times before that, stalking Laurie and everything with the mask. So, like, that burglar alarm has been going off for like hours and hours in Haddonfield, in this tiny ass town, this little town. And they just got there to like check out what happened and like shut the alarm off and like notice there was a robbery and that someone stole a mask, rope, and knives and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, that's just me nitpicking. None of this matters at all. The movie is perfect. This is just, you know what I do. And then like him eating a dog. Like when they find the dog at the Myers house and he's like, it's still warm, and then Loomis is like, he got hungry. I don't know, like, Michael eating dogs and shit, like, kind of a weird inclusion, but I mean, like, I guess, like, he's trying to stay hidden. He's trying to stay, like he's, you know, he's fucking wanted. Like, his doctor's after him. Fucking the cops are after him, so he can't just, like, pull into a fucking McDonald's and eat. Like, so maybe he's just, like Jason, like he just is living off wildlife in the woods, just like he did for all those years. Michael just didn't have an opportunity to grab some food on the way, so he said, fuck it, I'll eat the dog. Like, I don't know. But Friday the 13th series definitely has a much better track record, I said in one of those videos, with dogs than this series does. Like, just this movie alone, we get 2 dead dogs. We have like 3 out of 4, I think, that survive in the Friday series. So they fare a lot better than Friday the 13th. Poor dogs. Then when what the hell is it? Like when the gutter swings down and breaks the window, when Brackett and Loomis are in the Myers house, and Sam just fucking pulls his gun out so fast, the sheriff doesn't have his gun pulled at all. Like, Loomis, and that just shows again, like I was saying, like how scared Loomis is of Michael. Like, he's the only one who knows what he is, and he's been with him for so long and been studying him, been the doctor for 15 years. He is the only one who knows what he is, and because he's the only one who knows what he truly is, he's the only one who can be that scared of him. And as soon as that gutter hits the window, his gun is fucking out. Like, like he is taking no chances. His gun is immediately drawn, and you're with the sheriff, and like he's kind of like still like cowering from the glass and stuff. Like, I don't know. And then he has to explain that like I got a permit and stuff. Like, that's funny. And then I'm not even gonna get into it. Fucking the remake, fucking versus zombies. I'll talk about it when I do that. And like I said before, just his whole fucking, his monologue right there is like one of the greatest ever. Like, he has those 2 monologues in this movie with him about what I said earlier, with him staring at the wall and staring past the wall and just all of that. And then his monologue here in the Myers house to Brackett is just fucking unbelievable, man. Like, with this 6-year-old cold, pale, blankless stare, and just like all of that with the blackest eyes, and just amazing. Like, best monologues in a movie, like 100%. Like, in a TV show, my favorite monologue in the show, Mike Ehrmantraut's monologue on being a beat cop and stuff, and going to the distress call, domestic abuse, and that whole thing to Walter that he gives, I think is the greatest monologue in the history of TV. His monologues, Loomis, in this movie, best in film. Like, it's just so fucking good, man. How do you not love this movie to death? And then we get the nice little nod to The Thing from Another World. We get The Thing on the TV that they're watching, and I love how they show the opening of it, and just how Carpenter remade it like several years later, he did the title card the exact same way, and that's what we get to see here on the TV, which is just awesome. And then Annie gets killed, and Annie, man, I love Annie. Like, Annie's my favorite girl in this movie. Like, Linda I think is sexier. BJ Soul, she's as fucking sexy as can be in this movie. But something about Annie, ever since I was a kid, man, I loved Annie. Like, just her personality. Like, she just has this, like, I don't know, like, this bubbliness to her, and just like this, she's adorable. Like, just something about Annie, like, I absolutely adore in this movie, and always have. And it sucks every time she gets killed. And just her getting in the car, and with Michael behind strangling her, and then slits her throat and stuff. And like, that's another thing, just like how effective this fucking movie is. It doesn't need gore or blood or anything like that. There's like no blood in this movie, like at all. Like, very, very little. Like, that scene with Annie is the only thing I can think of. And you can hardly see it because the windows are fogged up and everything. Like, you can vaguely see, like, a little bit of red. But, like, that's it. Like, there's, like, no blood in this movie, gore in this movie. And it doesn't have to be. Like, it's just perfect as it is. Like, and you guys know I'm a huge gore fan and stuff. Like, the gorier the better when it comes to slasher movies and all that type of stuff. But I recognize enough when a movie doesn't need gore, or it doesn't need to be that violent or anything like that. And this is one of them. Like, doesn't need any of that gore, any of the blood. It's just perfect as it is. And then the shot of, and these are coming up on some of my favorite shots in a fucking movie ever. Like so much of this here. The shot of Tommy seeing Michael carrying Annie's body around the side of the house and into the Wallace house. One of the fucking greatest shots ever. That is such a terrifying thing for this young child to see. And no one believes him. Like, Laurie don't believe that anyone was out there. And I love the little detail that, like, when he says, nobody believes me, a little later on, and Lindsay's just like, I believe you, Tommy. Like, that's adorable. Like, just at least somebody fucking believes him. Like, really, really cool. And Loomis scaring the kids, Lonnie and his friends, out of, away from the Myers house is funny as shit, dude. Like, even he laughs. Like, that's the only time you see him, like, with a personality other than, like, just stern and just deeply, deeply serious in this whole film. Like, that's the only time he cracks a smile or anything. Like, just by scaring the fuck out of these kids. Like, I think that's hilarious. And that's fucking funny, man. Inhumanly patient, waiting for that secret silent trigger, alarm to trigger him off. Like, oh God, every line, man. And Linda and Bob, and just the fucking weirdest line ever, man, with the with them in the car and stuff, and they're like messing around a little before they go inside the Wallace house, and him saying, first I rip your clothes off, then you rip my clothes off, and then we rip Lindsay's clothes off, and she like laughs too about it. Like, what is that? Like, that's like one of the only things in this movie that, like, what the fuck line is that? Like, really? Like you're fucking making out with your girlfriend and shit, and then you mention ripping the clothes of like a 7-year-old girl, like 8-year-old girl, something like that. Like, that's so weird. Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, I don't know why they included that. I don't know. Like, it's like things that would never be said in a movie after 1978, Alex. Like, it would, like, never. Like, you would never hear that, like, ever again. Like, it's such a weird fucking inclusion of that line. And then we get their sex scene that makes no sense because, like, he's, like, clearly fucking, like, humping her thigh. Like, the way they're positioned and shit, like, there's no way he's inside her. Like, he's, like, fucking her thigh. Like, if you don't know what I mean, rewatch the scene. Like, like her one leg is, like, in such a direction, and then where he's laying and stuff, like, there's no way that his dick is inside her. Like, he's rubbing right against her fucking thigh. And then he goes down and we get the fucking iconic shot there, man, with him getting pinned on the wall with the kitchen knife, and just the subtlety to Michael just turning his head and looking up at him. And just, dude, just that whole little tiny detail adds so much to that shot. Like, and just, again, wondering, like, why is he looking like that? Is he, like, appreciating his, like, what he did, his art? Or is he just, like, fixated on, like, I don't know. Like, it's, that's what I'm saying. Like, the mystery to his character and why he does what he does is just so fucking intriguing and just so interesting to think about. And it really is unreal, man. But that's such a clever inclusion with the head turn. Like, I absolutely adore that. And we get some PJ Souls tits, which I will never complain about. And then we get the sheep ghost Michael, which, I mean, why dress up like a ghost? Like, why put the sheet on? I mean, it looks awesome. It's a great scene and stuff, but like, why do that? Like, I don't get that. Like, he could just like stalk his way into the room and kill Linda flat out. Like, I never understood why he put the sheet on. Like, I guess he does have a little bit of a sense of humor. It's not, he's not completely emotionless inside, like fucking Loomis says over and over again. But then Linda gets strangled, and then we get that amazing shot of the mask in the light when he's holding the phone up to listening to the other end, listening to Laurie and stuff. Awesome. Like, such a great shot, dude. The lighting on the mask, and that's like the first time we see the mask, like, up close, like, in the light. Like, oh, Jesus, this fucking movie, man. And then the shot of Laurie looking across the street. It's fucking terrifying when she looks across the street and the lights turn on and off. Like, it's just something about that. It's just fucking just terrifying to me. Like, like, again, like I said, like, I tried so hard to distance nostalgia from this viewing, this rewatch. Like, trying to look at it through analytical eyes and trying to just, and it's so hard. I mean, you really can't distance yourself from your past experiences and nostalgia and stuff like that. Like, you only can do so much. Like, trying as hard as I could to stay away from nostalgia and just look at this movie like I try with every movie for like it's the first time, and just thinking to myself, is this, like, this score, is it really the greatest score? And like, this scene coming up, is it really the greatest, like, scene, or this shot? And then thinking about it and just going through hundreds of movies in my head and just, yeah, like, yes, like, the answer, yeah, like, it's still all of that favorite stuff of mine in this movie. It still is, like, all these years later. Like, over, what is it, 25 years? Fucking, like, man, it's just unreal how this movie just never gets old, how it's timeless completely. And I said the same thing for The Thing, same thing for Suspiria, and a few other films that I hold in that same regard as perfect films, which I'll get to them when I get to them, so there'll be surprises. Then Loomis, like, just saw that car. Like, that's one thing that's a little funny. Like, he's been watching everywhere all that time, and then he just notices the fucking Smith's Gross car that Michael's been driving, like, 3 blocks down or a few blocks down. Like, that's a little weird. Like, he didn't notice that car, and we know how adamant Loomis is about looking around and stuff and looking for Michael. He's like, the way he drew his gun so quick when the gutter crashed through the window. He didn't see that car until just then. Like, I don't know, that's always been a little weird. And then we get the whole walk with Laurie walking over to the Wallace house is so atmospheric, man. The atmosphere in that scene is so fucking good. Like, just with the music playing and the piano motif playing as she walks over there, and the shots of the house, and just, oh God, this fucking movie, I love it so much. God damn, man. And then we get Judith's tombstone with the jack-o'-lantern on the side table with Annie's body laying sprawled out in front of the tombstone. From then on, from that scene until she gets back into the Doyle house, is fucking perfection. Like, perfect. As soon as like the fucking bodies come out, and that's another trope that this ushered in for hundreds and hundred thousands probably of movies, of just the bodies showing up like with the final girl and everything. But like the chase sequence, as soon as the music starts, dun dun dun, and then she's fucking, and Michael comes out of the fucking darkness. Just that shot too, with his mask just coming slowly into view out of the dark room. And he has terrible aim when he tries stabbing her. Like, he just fucking cuts her fucking shoulder and she falls down the stairs. But all of that, from then with him coming down the stairs and her going outside screaming for help and going to the neighbors, and they turn the light on and then they shut it off on her, and she's like, can't you hear me? And just that whole scene, and she gets to the door and she can't find the keys, and then it keeps panning back to Michael walking from the Wallaces, and then back to her, and then her screaming for Tommy, and just the way she delivers the lines of her saying like, Tommy, hurry up, and then Tommy, please, sends chills down my fucking spine every single time. Every time. Like, it doesn't matter when, where I watch this movie. Every single time. After, I don't even want to guess how many times I've seen this movie. Like, it's over 100, like, for sure. Might even be a lot higher than that. Every time. That whole scene, from when the music starts at the Wallace house, and she comes, and that whole chase scene, is the most tense scene ever put to film. Ever. Like, that's, in my opinion, the greatest scene, filled with fucking dripping with tension, ever put to film. The tension in that scene, the fear in that scene, the atmosphere in that scene, the music, the shots of Michael fucking getting closer and closer, Laurie screaming her fucking bloody life out for help, thinking smart enough to throw the plant up at the window to wake up Tommy. All of that. Fucking perfection. Like, there's nothing better. Like, that is the most tense scene ever put into a movie in the history of film for me. Like, every time, chills. Like, it's unbelievable. And I love the little detail too, like when she's when she breaks the glass to move the rake. There's a small little detail of, I don't know if this was in the script or if just it was something Nick Castle did on the fly, but they show Michael with the knife in hand walking like towards Laurie right before she gets out, and he switches the knife from one hand to the other. I've always loved that. Like, I don't know why he does that. Is it just because he had the knife in his other hand, like he usually uses? Like, one in his right hand, and he had it in the left when he was trying to bang through the door, and that's why he switched it? Was that in the script, or was that just something that Nick Castle did, like, on the fly there? Because whatever the reason, I love that little detail of just him switching hands with the knife. Like, I love that so much. And then just after she gets back in the house, in the Doyle house, and I love how in the living room that the lighting is just lighting up the couch. The rest of the room is completely dark, and it's just the couch, that area with the couch, that's lit up, that has lighting on it. Amazing, man. And then stabbing Michael with the sewing needle, the knitting needle, thinking he's dead after that. Like, I mean, she doesn't know what exactly Michael is and everything, but like, even I wouldn't think, like, if I stabbed someone with a knitting needle in the neck, I wouldn't think I killed him. Like, I would still, like, be very cautious. But that's such a small little thing. And then just when she goes upstairs for the kids, and just the subtle little detail of just Michael's shadow at the top of the stairs before his body, you see his actual body come up behind Laurie, and then when they finally bring attention to it and you just see him standing there and the kids scream, and just fucking unreal, man. Like, come on. Like, from that whole time from Judith's gravestone with Annie to the end of this movie is just an assault. Like, it's an assault on the senses. It's just, it doesn't let up. It's just like non-stop until the end of the film. And it's, oh God, it's fucking amazing. And just the way that he breaks each, like when she's in the closet and how he's trying to get in, then he just starts breaking each, like going down the closet by breaking the boards in. That's such a, just a stylistic shot, man, of him doing that instead of just like breaking the whole closet down or like fucking just breaking a huge hole in it. Just the way that he smashes each like layer in, like, it's fucking amazing, man. Like, excellent. Like, such a great decision to throw in there. Then with the light bulb flickering and stuff, when Michael's like half his body is in the closet and she's making the hanger and stuff and pokes him in the eye with the hanger, just the way that the light's flickering. Fucking amazing. Like, this whole video has been amazing, perfect, excellent, genius, because that's all I can say. Like, that's all it is. Like, and then it's my favorite shot ever in a horror movie. Like, ever. Is with Laurie when she's facing away from the room and she tells them to go, call the kids to go call the cops from the neighbors. And she's just resting there, and then Michael just slowly sitting up and turning towards Laurie. Greatest shot in the movie. Ever. Like, for me, 100%. Like, that shot was ingrained in me from the first time I saw this film. Like, from the first time as a 5-6-year-old child, I thought that was so cool. The way in the background that he just sits up slowly. And even if he just did that, it would be excellent. But just, again, just the slow head turn towards her. The greatest shot ever. Greatest shot in the film for me. Like, always will be, probably, for the most part. Like, I see nothing ever topping that. Like, ever. And then I hear this said a lot, that people question this and stuff, and say, why is Michael's face, like when she takes the mask off of him, why is his face disfigured like Jason? It's not. His eye is just closed because she stabbed him in the eye with a hanger. Right? Am I missing something in the last, like, almost 30 years? That's it. Like, he doesn't have a disfigured face or anything. Like, we see him as a child, he's fine. Fucking, like, he's a normal, like, adorable looking kid. Like, and there's nothing wrong with his face. Like, I hear so many people say that incorrectly, that, like, he looks like Jason, that they have messed up faces. It's just because his eyes fucking closed or swelled shut, whatever you want to say, because she stabbed him in the fucking eye, man. Like, that's why. Like, that's the only reason. Like, he's not deformed or anything like that. And then just with Loomis coming in with the shots and just fucking shooting him and him falling off the fucking balcony, which with Halloween 2, I can't stand that recap when it looks like they shot it. They shot it again, and just like it looks like a stuntman, like walking backwards onto the railing and then falling back. Like, I don't know why they did that. They couldn't just use this footage. Like, I don't know if it was a rights thing or something like that they couldn't use the footage from the first film. That probably is the reason. Like, most likely, I'd have to check up on that. But I hate that in Halloween 2. Like, just, it's perfect here, how he falls off the balcony. And they messed that up in the second one so bad. I hate it. I wince every time I see that shit. And then just, was that the boogeyman? Matter of fact, it was. Oh. And then he looks down and he's gone. And the music kicks in. And then you just see the shots of everywhere that Michael has been. The living room with the lighting on the couch again. And the Wallace house, and the Doyle house, and the stairway, and his breathing, his heavy breathing through the mask, that he's still out there, that he could be anywhere. unreal. Like, dude, I can't with this movie. Like, this has been such a nostalgic trip the last like week between rewatching this for the fucking 100th and something millionth time and covering the whole Friday the 13th series. It's just been such a blast and such a huge trip down into the past, into my childhood. Like, just so nostalgic. And like I said, even with distancing myself from that, still the greatest fucking movie ever next to The Thing. And it's just an absolutely perfect film. So, I mean, this is an hour now, guys, but I said, hey, strap in. It's fucking John Carpenter's The Thing. Probably would be The Thing, fucking Halloween. I don't even know what movie I'm talking about anymore. Fucking John Carpenter's Halloween. Just like I said with John Carpenter's The Thing and Suspiria. Fucking ain't gonna be short 15-minute, 20-minute videos. Fucking too much to talk about. And probably be the same for a few other movies. A few other perfect movies that I have. But I'm not gonna spoil what they are. I'm gonna leave them secrets until I do them. So you have to fucking guess and figure out what else is this guy hiding in that mind is, like anyone gives a shit. Alright guys, that is John Carpenter's Halloween, the movie that got me into horror and film, basically, in general. And this movie is so dear to me, just like The Thing. Like, so dear to my heart that it means so much to me. Like, this is, like I said, one of my earliest memories was watching this movie on USA on Halloween night. And I'll never forget it. And it changed the whole trajectory of my life by pushing me down the fucking rabbit hole into horror, which is one of my biggest passions in life. And I think that's a good way of ending this. So, alright guys, I will see you later tonight, probably, early morning, with whatever the fuck I said I was gonna do. Fucking, I can't remember at this point. So, and wherever you're from, happy. Fucking, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I don't know why anyone watches any of my shit. It's just babbling moron who makes no sense. Wherever you're from, hope you're having a good morning. Hope you're having a good night. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.